Holy shit! First of all, thank you for all of the views, likes, and comments on the last video. I read through the comments and tried to respond to as many as possible. The majority of you were very supportive and offered a ton of great advice. Most importantly, I learned that Linux is not an operating system. It's a kernel in which the real operating systems, the distros, are built around. I'm still gonna get people commenting about it, but that's alright. It looks like a lot of you use Mint, and for that distro you hardly have to use the terminal at all, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna stick to CachyOS for now because it does everything I need it to do. And apparently you can run Adobe apps on Linux using Wine, which is a compatibility layer for Windows applications similar to Proton, which Steam uses for games. Also, I completely forgot to mention that my PC has an AMD GPU in it, which according to several of you is easier to set up compared to an Nvidia GPU, so my apologies for not disclosing that. To be fair, I did mention that I am not a professional. I barely knew what I was doing when I installed CachyOS, and I'm still piecing things together as I go along. But yeah, that's it. Just wanted to say thanks. I appreciate all of you, and I hope that I can learn a lot more from you. Today's video is going to be about something I've wanted to talk about for a while now, and since you like to hear me talk about stuff, I think it's time that I talk about generic corporate slop. Generic corporate slop is a term that I have been using to describe almost every modern version of something. Restaurants, TV shows, cars, video games, they all seem to have dwindled down into generic corporate slop. But what does that even mean? Let's take restaurants for example. Do you remember back when McDonald's had the red and gold roof? Or when Taco Bell used to look like this? See, call me nostalgic, but back then it felt like you were going somewhere different and you had something to look forward when you went there. But now, every single restaurant looks like this. A gray box with a new, minimalistic logo slapped onto it. The only thing you could sort of look forward to now is the food, which doesn't even seem to taste as good anymore. Well, what about TV shows? Back before there were connected universes, blatant product placement, and poorly written characters, there was actually a coherent story with consistent character motivations that were good enough to have you invested in their interest. In other words, they didn't suck. Last year, I watched a bit of the WWE because it was John Cena's last year wrestling, and that's my childhood GOAT besides The Undertaker. But oh my goodness, the modern day product just makes no sense. I'm not sure if it's because I know it's scripted or because I train MMA where we actually hit things, probably both. But it seems like nowadays they don't even try to fake the strikes anymore. Which I guess is why I found more appreciation for the stunts where they're jumping off the top rope or a ladder because you can't really fake gravity. And I'm not trying to rip on any WWE fans because some matches were actually pretty entertaining, but that wasn't my biggest issue with it. My biggest issues were how generic the stages looked, how generic the new entrance theme songs were, how instead of a montage for the wrestlers on the Jumbotron, it was just a graphic with their name on it. And most importantly, the ads. Why are there so many ads? There are ads plastered in the ring, on the turnbuckles, there's a cart of Prime bottles by the announcer table, and even on the tables that they're throwing each other through, there's ads.
What the fuck?
See, I know that I grew up in a very different time where the WWE was run by a very controversial individual who came up with some very controversial stories, but those stories are what people remember even decades after they happened. Nowadays, it just don't hit the same. For me, if you still like WWE, that's okay. Keep watching it, keep enjoying it, that's your right. It's just not for me, that's all. Maybe a lot of people with the same opinion as me are watching AEW, which I heard is really good, but I probably won't be doing that anytime soon. I'm more of a UFC guy now, and even that has been kind of iffy recently because of their recent partnership with Paramount+. The first numbered card, UFC 324, Paddy Pimblett vs Justin Gaethje, had so many ads. That's all that people on the internet were talking about, just all of the ads. It felt like there was an ad for the ads that they were playing. To be fair, they kinda dialed it down afterwards for the next card. Shout out my favorite cooking YouTuber, Alexander Volkanovski. And now with Paramount at the reins, they're starting to cut people's microphones off mid-interview, which, I mean, they did that to Sean Strickland, who is Sean Strickland. But what's to say they can't start doing that with other fighters who speak their minds on things they may not agree with? Even if those things aren't inherently bad, the fact that they're willing to silence people for speaking is a little concerning for me, to be honest. It's concerning because at some point it's gonna become so censored that everyone's gonna have the same generic behavior and we won't have interesting personalities like Strickland or McGregor or Paddy Pimblett, to name some examples. Which doesn't really make any sense to me because these dudes literally beat each other up for a living, so why not let them speak their minds? It also promotes the fights better. But at the end of the day, the UFC is the UFC. Whether it's the champion in the main event or some prelim fighter, you're always gonna get those OMG moments, and I just hope that these big companies don't find a way to fuck that up and turn it all into generic corporate slop. Now you see, modern cars upset me the most because it seems like the newer cars emphasize features that encourage not driving. Whether it's self-driving, self-parking, or sensors that'll make your car automatically brake or steer away from obstacles, they all take away from the best part of a car, which is driving it. Not only that, but I feel like modern cars with modern features have made the majority of drivers worse as a whole because they rely too much on their car's features. When the truth is that the best safety feature of a car always has been and always will be a good driver. Then there's video games, which have been a vital part of my life ever since my hands could hold a controller. Video games have gone from these 8-bit arcade games where you play through a set number of levels to these open-world cinematic masterpieces. At least some games are like that, but now most games are just regurgitated content filled with ads for microtransactions of the next collab the game's doing. Actually, let me rephrase that before the keyboard warriors come after me. Many AAA games nowadays, especially the live service ones, do this. I know that there are still plenty of great indie games out there like Expedition 33 and Arc Raiders, both of which I need to try out, by the way. But yeah, big games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Rainbow Six Siege have completely lost their identity in my opinion because everything that made those games, have basically taken a back seat to all of the microtransactions and collab skins that they have. And that's not even mentioning that the quality of these games have gone downhill in my opinion. I don't play any of these games anymore, but I also can't bear to watch people play any of these games anymore. And that says a lot since Skittles has been one of my favorite YouTubers for a minute now despite me not playing Siege. But I just don't want to watch Siege anymore because the game doesn't feel like the realistic tac shooter that I fell in love with a decade ago. Nothing feels like they're made with love anymore. Everything feels like they're just revenue sources for the big companies, and to be fair, they always have been. But I feel like the greed of these companies has gotten to the point where it has ruined the quality of their products, which was the baseline for their success in the first place. Yes, we may not talk anymore, but Ice Beats Dragon made a video a while back called Bungie Doesn't Care, and in that video, he talks about how Bungie doesn't give a shit about whether or not players like the game, and that the people in charge only care about numbers.
You think some old 80-year-old guy showing up to the office in his fancy suit, his custom-made hearing aid, rolling up his $10,000 cane, is really knows anything about what Destiny is, what a video game is? Hell no. Think he's rolling up worried about patch notes, the state of the game, what's balanced, what's not balanced? No, he sees two things. He sees popularity by play hours, and he's seeing money. That's it. They ain't nothing else.
And he's right. Chances are that these people obsessed with the numbers that the video game generates have never even touched the video game. And I feel like that's the main problem nowadays with all of these big companies. They're so out of touch with their audience now, but are so successful that they can afford not to care. Which sucks, but at the same time, we're the ones enabling that kind of behavior. Same thing goes for AI. Everyone's talking shit about AI now, especially since it's caused RAM and storage prices to go up. But we keep using it. People keep using AI to help them write essays, make cooking recipes, do their jobs, and even make AI-generated content. Not me though, and to prove it to you, I'm gonna do a live demo of me checking if this script was AI-generated. Oh, hello there. See, this is the script for my video. It's about 7 pages long. We're going to copy it. We're gonna go to this AI detector over here and paste and scan. And we're gonna ignore this because ain't nobody want this bullshit. And as you can see, human generated, folks. Human generated. We do not use AI here. So fuck y'all if you thought my shit was AI generated. Also, fuck Copilot. Anyways, obviously AI is a big part of today's world and every company out there is trying to leverage it in the best way that they can. However, some companies seem to rely on it too much, and because it's still relatively new, it's not trained enough to do certain things as well as a human can. In my opinion, AI generated art sucks. Most of the time, you can very easily tell what's AI generated, and it feels way too artificial for it to be enjoyable to me. I'm just looking at it like, oh okay, it's AI generated. It doesn't make me feel a certain way. Even if it looks quote unquote good, I don't feel a certain way about it. And art has always been subjective. It's always been about how something makes you feel. I feel good when I listen to the Graduation album, but others may not feel the same way. Okay, I've been saying feel too much, so I'ma stop now. Back to generic corporate slop, these companies are blatantly relying on AI to do things for them now, and as a result we're getting generic AI generated corporate slop. I think that we're at the peak of modern technology. The internet has made information easily accessible to many people around the world. Cars have never been faster. Computers are able to do so many tasks that we used to do by hand with pen and paper. There's too many to count. And on top of that, we have AI to help us automate even more tasks to make our lives even easier. You don't even need to leave your home anymore to earn an income, entertain yourself, or even get groceries. Yet despite all of this, everything feels unoriginal, disposable, and not even better than the previous iteration. It's like in physics class when you learn about Moore's law, which basically talks about how the number of transistors in a chip doubles every 2 years. Obviously, you can only fit so many transistors into a single chip, so you start to question when we will reach that physical limit. And funny enough, it seems like we did reach that limit a few years ago. I know I'm going a little off topic here, but essentially I'm trying to say that we have reached the end of evolution in modern technology, and everything we get now just feels like a shittier version of the last. Just more slop for us to consume like the consumers we are. This really is like that SpongeBob episode where he gets replaced by a machine making god-awful Krabby Patties, but people still eat the slop patty anyway. And I know that inflation is a thing, but it feels like we're paying more for a lot less so that they can charge us additional fees to get the same things we would have gotten altogether for a single fee. Streaming services definitely kicked off the trend for paid subscriptions, which, depending on the service, I guess makes sense because they're constantly updating it. Even then so, all of these subscription services have different subscription tiers, and the basic tier is usually so shit that you might as well pay a little more for the higher tier subscriptions. Then you have Adobe, which makes you pay a subscription fee for the same application. I know there's different versions of Photoshop and Premiere Pro, but they ultimately do the same thing with maybe some additional features in the newer versions. But guess what? There are other one-time purchase software applications that also get updates. Fuck you mean I gotta keep paying to use Adobe? And before y'all come in here with that,
If you're a broke boy, just say so.
yes, I am broke. These companies be doing too much now, and they can't keep getting away with it. Eventually, we're all going to get sick of it, and I think I'm already at that point. Anyway, that's going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really just ranted about certain things I don't really like anymore, but this is the internet, bitch. I can talk my shit if I want to. I don't know what it is recently, but between this video and my last video, I've just been hating on a lot of these big corporations recently. Hopefully, there's someone out there who has the same or at least similar opinions as me so that I don't seem like a crazy person. But even if I am a crazy person for thinking that way, aren't we all just a little bit? The only people who aren't are the corporate industry plants that have been programmed to act as the company's version of normal. And with that, I'll see myself out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Or maybe not. Maybe one of these companies already sent out hitmen to take me out. We'll see. Just remember, folks, I have never thought about unaliving myself, nor will I ever do such a thing.